My grandmother told me never to walk alone in the woods at night. I always wondered why, until I experienced something evil.
Alex had always been drawn to the woods that loomed at the edge of his small town. As a child, he would often sneak glances at the dense forest, feeling an inexplicable pull to explore its secrets. But his grandmother, a wise and weathered woman named Agnes, would always warn him away. "Alex, don't you dare venture into those woods alone at night," she would say, her voice low and serious. "There's evil in there, waiting for you. You don't want to go poking around in the dark, trust me." But Alex was skeptical. He didn't believe in the old stories and superstitions that his grandmother seemed to cling to. He thought she was just trying to scare him, to keep him from having any fun. One night, as the sun dipped below the horizon, Alex decided to take a walk into the woods. He had been feeling restless all day, and the darkness seemed to call to him. He slipped out of the house, ignoring his grandmother's warnings, and made his way into the forest. At first, the woods seemed quiet and still. The only sound was the rustling of leaves beneath his feet and the distant hooting of an owl. But as he walked deeper into the forest, the shadows began to seem to move and twist around him. Alex felt a shiver run down his spine, but he pressed on, determined to prove to himself that his grandmother's warnings were just old-fashioned nonsense. As he walked, the trees seemed to grow taller and closer together, casting long, ominous shadows on the ground. Alex began to feel a creeping sense of unease, but he told himself he was just being silly. He was a grown boy, after all. What could possibly hurt him? And then, he heard it. A low, whispery voice, seeming to come from all around him. "Welcome, Alex," it said. "We've been waiting for you." Alex spun around, trying to see who was speaking, but there was no one in sight. The voice seemed to be coming from the trees themselves, or from the darkness that lurked between them. Suddenly, the woods were filled with a faint, flickering light. Alex saw shadowy figures darting between the trees, their eyes glowing with an otherworldly energy. He tried to run, but his feet seemed rooted to the spot. The voice spoke again, its tone dripping with malevolence. "You should have listened to your grandmother, Alex. Now you'll never leave these woods alive." As the figures closed in around him, Alex realized that his grandmother had been trying to warn him all along. There was indeed evil in the woods, and it had been waiting for him. He tried to scream, but his voice was frozen in his throat. The last thing Alex saw was his grandmother's face, her eyes filled with a deep sadness and regret. She had tried to warn him, but he had refused to listen. Now, he was gone, consumed by the very evil she had tried to protect him from. The next morning, Agnes went out to search for Alex, her heart heavy with foreboding. She found his backpack, abandoned on the edge of the woods, but there was no sign of the boy himself. She knew that she would never see him again, that the evil in the woods had claimed him as its own. As she walked back to her house, Agnes couldn't help but think that she had failed to protect her grandson. She had warned him, but he had refused to listen. Now he was gone, and she was left to live with the knowledge of what could have been prevented. The woods seemed to loom larger than ever, their shadows cast long and ominous across the ground. Agnes knew that she would never set foot in those woods again, that the evil that lurked within was too powerful to be faced. She would spend the rest of her days warning others of the dangers that lay within, hoping that they would listen where her grandson had not.